welcome to the Monday head drawing class. Let's get started, shall we? So first things first, we're going to bring our reference in. I'm going to actually start with some of this stuff here, and I'll optimize and save this for you real fast. We're going to start with some of this stuff, and then probably use some animation characters as well. But first off, let's see. Photo ref. Alright, so I'm going to upload that to the classroom chat. Make sure that you have the PureRef app downloaded. That's this thing again, just for the people who are here. Make sure you have PureRef downloaded. You can load the file. And I'll upload this. Yeah, thank you, Aganima. Yeah, you can upload those to classroom chat and also like on my personal server too. Yeah, actually, you've got like the templates ready to go. It's like, and I started some of these like last week a little bit, so maybe it would be a good idea just to, since you've been a good little Santa's helper, basically. I'm probably just going to yoink one of these to do right now. That'll save some time straight away. But for the folks here, I'm going to also upload what I just got hold of. Perhaps, and then photo ref. All right, so that's just like a PureRef file collection that has a bunch of this stuff in it. Let's see, we can see some nice ones there. Nice ones there. This one has like a pretty nice mix of stuff, I would say. This is one I already did drawovers on previously last week. Maybe I should do it on this one. I'm actually want to start with some photo reference stuff. Maybe I'll do this one. I'm gonna download this. There, let's copy paste it to the app. Save this as a Clip Studio file. Monday head drawing demos. 12, 13, 20. Okay. Oh, that's not saved properly, is it? I need to save it as a clip file. I think I saved it as a PNG by mistake. Just that real quick. A little long to save there. Ooh. Yeah, the head drawing crowd has arrived. I see the population of the server has just the stream has just popped up to around 45. Lovely. Welcome all you lovelies. So we're just getting started. If you have any questions, ask them in the Discord classroom chat in the Ethan Becker server, or in the Twitch. I'll be paying attention to both. And also anyone who's, let me just check to see if the voice chat is enabled right now. Voice chat is not enabled right now. I'm going to enable it now, but I'm going to probably disable it after stream. It's going to be on. Voice activity is going to be on. So if you want to chat on Classroom and you're currently in there right now, leave the Classroom voice channel and rejoin. And then you'll be able to talk on a microphone. Goody. So, yeah, like I said, well, anyway, let's do a quick mic check for the people who have mics. Like, speak up and introduce yourself a little bit. Let's get started here.
Hey, how's it going?
Hey, yeah, thank you for the support, by the way.
Yeah, it's no problem. I just like watching the ads when I'm on online classes and stuff.
Cool. All right, let's see. I'm gonna save this as a Clip Studio file. I'm gonna make sure. Also, I'm gonna make sure that like this and a bunch of other stuff I've been doing for the last week or so gets uploaded to my Patreon either this evening or tomorrow. for the patron supporters. Been kind of slacking off on that, so I've been busy with a bunch of other stuff. So now, yeah, we got the Clip Studio file ready to go. That's good. I've got the extra template back here. I'm just gonna make another layer back there for make sure that I always have a white background no matter what. Lock that. Lock that. Lower that. Lower that opacity. There we go. And so what we're going to be doing is a combination of things, but I'm going to show you a video reference from Ethan Becker's server, which is the server community that I'm a part of course. For the past few weeks, we've been trying to utilize the information from this video right here. This fixing drawing with waffles thing. Don't worry, like Ethan's just like kidding when he pretends that he's drama when he's doing drama and stuff like this. I'm sorry, I'm done thing is a joke and stuff. He's good natured and wholesome. But anyway, this thing that you're seeing in the thumbnail right here is essentially what we're going to be doing.
There's a way to think about it.
So I will bring it over to usually where I have it for these streams, for on-screen reference, which is like this kind of thing right here. Have this in the corner of the stream, picking up the space where the fire was. Close that. And so the I'm going to copy and paste that in chat. Easy of use and convenience. Yeah, the 86 bot notification is super late. You're right about that. On my personal server, yeah, there seems to be delays in that thing. I'm gonna have to find something else that works better for it. So what we're going to be doing is we're going to be doing drawovers over these faces, and we're going to be breaking down in very simple terms like how these faces work, using just the information in that video, in Ethan Becker's video. And we're also going to be combining with some Loomis head stuff that I've been doing in some basic head drawing practice. Also, I want to make a note. I found out recently about the subview mode right here. And that's a really handy mode in Clip Studio that lets you load in an image to use as like kind of like an on-screen reference tool, and you can have multiple instances of the sub tool in the app at once. So what I'm going to kind of do actually is, like, I've done previous versions of this exercise for the last few weeks, so I'm going to actually load in a previous version of the thing that I have, so I can have that there to kind of like build off of what I've been kind of doing for the last few weeks. So I'm going to load in the one that I did with like Spacedad and some other things back here. You can zoom in on anywhere in here, have that handy here to like glance at and move around and stuff in the sub view. This is a demo video, so I'm just going to have that over there. That'll like kind of give me a little something to glance over for inspiration. You can use that with like mood boards and other things like that. What's cool about that PureRef app that I had people download is you can create image mood boards out of your automatically out of like the images that you're going to place together in that. So like the mood boards that I create there, I could bring in here. So let's see. Actually, I'll back up a bit and talk our way through what we're doing. So the first thing you want to do when you do this, you want to kind of like get like the eye line in here, just like kind of like what he did with the blue, what Ethan did with the blue line in the upper corner of the screen here. Then generally you're going to want to take like one corner of the eye line and swing it down. You're thinking about it three-dimensionally, like the bottom half of like Kermit the Frog's mouth when he's opening his mouth, and swing it down through the corners of the nose like that. Then you work on the arch of the brow. So what's important about this is there's a change of direction usually around the corners. You can kind of guesstimate where it is a little bit by keeping the eyebrows and stuff. Generally I keep this thing flexible, even though like the bony mass is not going to change shape underneath the flesh. But the shape of the brow does get modified by that fleshy mass a bit. We're kind of like simplifying the structure that's going on here. In this real, actual human being's face. This is like a more cartoony face, like Spacedad over here, who's got a very flexible brow because he's a cartoon character, even though he's like kind of a more anatomical character. So what you get out of this is you get kind of a Muppet mouth thing. Like you can even place like Kermit the Frog's eyes kind of like that. Like this is going in and that's coming out. And that is a pattern that's going to like staircase down the whole face. So keep that in mind. Like that's going to apply to the nose here. The nose essentially is going to be kind of like this looping, like almost like a croquet hoop that's looping on the front of the face a little bit. And another thing you're going to want to establish is a center line down the front of the face, and you're going to want to like treat the center line like it's going down a 3D form. That means like if we're looking at this from the side view, down that kind of wedge shape that we've created, it's going down here and it's coming up there. Down, specifically, actually, it's coming down on the front of the nose, which is sticking off a little bit from the face. So as Ethan shows in the video, like you can use this structure for the eyes. You can use like this Muppet mouth structure for the eyes and for the mouth, the nose. You can use it down the whole front of the face, like for the chin, the space under the nose, and so on. So same deal here. This goes inward. That one goes outward. That one goes inward. That one goes outward, and so on. What's cool is it's like this kind of raccoon eye mask thing right here. You can use it as a simplified form to establish the direction of the face. Then you can kind of figure out like where the rest of the direction of the head is using this thing as like a kind of a measuring device. We'll get into that, but first we're going to do the eyes. So basic structure of the eyes, as you can see how Ethan kind of simplifies it. If you get like you go up, cross like that, and in, something like that. So like something along these lines. We're simplifying. This is we're not going to get heavy into facial anatomy. We just want people to kind of wrap their heads around these complex shapes of the head and the features and so on. The idea with this practice is that you're going to do a lot of them. And as you get kind of, like you do draw overs to kind of orient yourself, and then as you get more warmed up, you do freehand studies. That's why I left margins here, so you can do freehand studies in the margins using sketches and drawing drills and stuff. When you do these, actually turn that off there. It'll get a little messy otherwise. But yeah, like when you grab a bunch of reference of like animated character heads, photo reference of heads, and stuff, you should try to organize it something like this. You can, but you can also, if it's like an array of photos or something, like what I yoinked from the photo reference batches that I showed earlier, you can just draw straight on those. Fine. The whole point of doing this though is to like keep you organized. Like this is like a pacing yourself for an art workout, getting one of these pages under your belt, so you can actually like track your art fitness. And you can see the progression, like where you started, and what kind of things you might be kind of like having consistent problems with. What things you want to kind of make sure that sink in more for you and memorize. We're using this template also for our anatomy studies on Wednesday as well. I'm kind of like establishing the size of the head a little bit. I'm gonna have to do some guesstimations here and there. I'm gonna kind of guesstimate the top of her head somewhere over here. I want to kind of get like the side plane going of her head. Fortunately, since we kind of have an idea where the brow is and stuff, we can use that to sort of measure the side plane a little bit. Gauge the side plane somewhat. let's say it's somewhat around here. Her ear's probably somewhere in there. Side plane of the head is probably like this. And again, this is like guesstimation. You kind of need to get several of these under your belt before your guessing gets it gets in tune with what you're looking at. So this first drawing that I'm doing right here is probably not going to be as in tune and as accurate as what's going to come later. Another thing that I've been doing lately is adding a little bit of neck anatomy. We've been practicing the torso, and the anatomy of the neck is part of that. So I'm going to kind of guesstimate the sternomastoid a little bit. Don't worry about this, by the way. I won't go into. I'll go into a little bit more detail on the neck anatomy, but you don't have to worry about this. You can just use like a C curve for the neck here. I could definitely refresh my torso practice sometime this week. Practice proportion for the body later then? Yeah. You're gonna want to use the head as a measuring device for the body. That's why I try to lead in Mondays with head drawing class. Because if you are pretty good at establishing heads, or pretty warmed up at establishing heads, then you'll have a much better time with figuring out the proportions of the body because you use the head as a measuring device. Yeah, this is really clunky, by the way. I'm a little bit out of practice. I've been like messing with animation and some other thing. So this is a drawing drill session for me as well. You're gonna see me warm up in real time with the rest of you. And what we're gonna be doing is we're gonna be doing this for the next hour and 45 minutes or so before we move on to some animation stuff. I'm gonna set a Google clock or a Google alarm to buzz me at. Okay, Google, set an alarm at 7:30 p.m.
7:30 p.m. Set.
So when that clock goes off, we'll put down our pencils, take a look at what we got, what we've done so far, and we will. I will show a demonstration of how to use Clip Studio for animation, and then we will start animating. Have an animation app open, or if you don't have an animation app open, be ready to take notes. And perhaps like if you want to keep getting more drawing practice, then you can do more drawing studies like this. But remember, like, this is not a race. Take these kind of at your own pace. Don't be afraid to mess up. I'm gonna be afraid to mess up. You're gonna see me making lots of mistakes because I'm a little bit out of shape because I haven't done this kind of studying head drawing drawovers in a little while. So it's gonna take me a little bit to kind of get back in tune with it. That's perfectly normal. You're gonna have like ups and downs with whatever you are currently practicing and whatever you're currently not practicing in art. Normal. And these sessions that I have, these class sessions that I do, they are, like I said, they're study sessions for me as much as they are for the rest of you. I'm getting my artwork out in with the rest of you here.
I have a quick question.
Yes.
So it looks like you're using the colors red, blue, and purple. What's the color code you're going for? What's the difference?
Nothing. I just want differentiated colors. It's not any specific rhyme or reason to the color code. Ethan is using it organized in his video, but if you notice, he just uses different colors for different studies and stuff. Sometimes I might use like a different color, like for the nose loop, for example, because like it's a little hard to differentiate, especially from straight on, from the from like the line underneath the face. So that makes it a little bit easier. Let's see here. I'm also going to do a quick showing of the Loomis head stuff from last week too, because made a quick Loomis head demonstration last week that was part of the files that we were going over. That reminds me, during one of the little interims, I'm going to take a peek at some of the homework people did last week. But let's start getting some of these under our belt. Like I need to get warmed up. Like it's going to take me less time to get warmed up with using this approach than it has in the past, because I've gotten more of these under my belt since I started doing this earlier this last month, actually. The length of the human body is estimated to be 8 heads. That's you're partly right on that, coffee. The 8 heads, proportion is just one idealized proportionate model. There's a lot of different other variants to that, like 7.5 heads and so on, 6 heads and stuff. Like different people have different body proportions. The 8 heads one is one that is easy to track, but you can always adjust things depending on the person's body type. It's a proportion. The point of like proportion tools like that is something to get you in the ballpark. So even if like something is different proportioned, you'll have like a frame of reference to work from. 8 heads is not actually for the average body. 8 heads is an idealized. The average body is somewhere closer to 8.5 heads. It's just that 7.5 heads. 7.5 heads is the average body, but like the idealized form of 8 heads, 8 is easier to divide by than 7.5 heads, and keep track of and memorize and visualize than 7.5 heads. Now, once you have the 8.5 heads proportion system memorized, it becomes easier to adjust it to a 7.5 heads form. So, like, you use it as like a starting point, something to kind of touch base with, you know. 8 heads is actually closer to like kind of a heroic proportions of like a classical art and stuff, but people in the real world are closer to 7.5 heads on average. Eight heads is also like superhero body proportions too, by the way. Marvel superheroes. And when you start getting into anime stuff, there's some really interesting proportions and proportion distortions that happen in a lot of the character designs there as well. So yeah, today we get to kind of like chill and draw and stuff. And get plenty of art mileage in. This is a nice way to lead off the week because, like, the point of doing draw over practice like this is an essential tool of any artist of any skill level, is to build up your confidence, to touch base with stuff. You bridge from doing this into freehand studies. But when you're like feeling clunky and not really feeling it, and you haven't been drawing for a while, or you haven't been drawing like a particular subject for a while, sometimes jumping in blindly to it can kind of undermine your confidence because you're out of practice on it. But drawing over like photos of heads or photos of the thing you're trying to study, or drawing over like well-drawn heads, and kind of get you back in the ballpark and get you in touch with the game. It lets you kind of also absorb things from good artists or observation from reality. If you notice, I'm adding some additional forms to this, like this kind of eye socket rhythm right here, and adding additional structures to the face. Like, the cool thing about this is this method you can plug in different stuff, like this side plane to the face that I'm doing from the cheek, for example. It's cool. Like, I'm starting to feel like my muscle memory of doing this starting to wake up, and that's the point of doing an exercise like this. Like, you use it as a confidence building tool to kind of remember stuff and like reignite the synapses in your head that have the memories and the muscle memory of this practice, this thing you've been practicing previously, encoded. And on that note, like we did freehand hand studies last week. We're going to be doing something like this week for Wednesday hand class, but we're also going to be animating the hand, and we're going to be using our own hand as a model to help with when we animate. Because you have an amazing reference pose figure model in your hand. Like if you want to get a little bit of life drawing practice in, and you don't have anything else around you, you can draw poses from your hand anytime. And if you want to take that idea to the next level, get a mirror, and you can start doing faces in the mirror to draw. That's something that I'm going to be doing next week. I've been really lazy about it. I've been meaning to get a desk mirror for myself so I can do literally that.
An exercise one teacher once make us do was to measure our body and see how many heads do we have in our body.
That's a fantastic thing to do. Like measuring your own body to understand.
Yeah,
to
figure out.
Yeah, to visually gauge how the stuff that you're trying to break down into systems of art works in the real world is a fantastic thing to do. Like not just specifically for that, but just for anything. Like that's why animators act out their scenes. That's why it's a good idea if you're studying anatomy to kind of like observe on your body or on other people's bodies around you, but on your own body how the anatomy works. Like for example, if you're studying the deltoid, you might put your hand on your shoulder and kind of feel how the muscles sort of change and look at it in the mirror and stuff.
Yeah, it was really helpful because I learned a lot about landmarks and my own proportions.
We're going to be getting back into landmarks again too. Wednesday will be again more about hands, but we had a good start in torso stuff. I might actually get some torso refreshing practice in tomorrow too. But I'm about 2 days behind on the daily hand drawing practice that we committed to, so I'm going to be doing makeup for that tomorrow. And the hand drawing practice thing, I want to hopefully make some kind of a New Year's resolution with folks here. For between now and let's say around New Year's, we'll be trying to keep up the daily hand drawing practice thing, because it gets hard to remember this and integrate this new habit. So don't beat yourself up if you miss some of the hand drawing practice days. I've got so much other stuff I've been keeping track of. I've missed those practices. But what you can do is you can start strategizing about ways to fit that in. See what works and what doesn't for helping you remember to do that. Because then you can use that not just for hands practice, but for other things you want to practice. For example, I'm thinking I will set up a sketchbook area where no matter what I'm doing, if I don't have anything else to do, there's a sketchbook open to a page where I can just sit down and I can start drawing the hands or something like that. You want to set up your surroundings so that they encourage you to keep up with stuff. There's a lot of people I have a drawing bench that I built, the kind of those horse benches that people have in figure drawing classes that I built myself. I'm thinking I will set up a large pad on that with reference handy of some kind, a printed out reference or something, and it'll be there always, and it'll be in a spot where it's easy for me to sit down at any time and do studies. So even if I got a few minutes to do something, I can sit down and do it. That's an example of strategizing for that sort of thing.
Do you recommend to take references from books like the Howard Dynamic Hands Pose?
Dynamic Hands is a fantastic book for hands. Yes, I do. Fantastic. Vern Hogarth's Dynamic Hands is one of the best books on hands out there. for sure.
Or do you prefer us to do it from live reference?
Both.
All right.
Yeah, because like you touch base with how an artist read the text in the Burn Horgraph book too. You'll understand like what he's talking about. It can be a little tricky to decipher some of what he's done versus like some of the, because he like draws some of them at weird angles and they're not exactly like always like formulaically presented, but it's pretty. If you read the text, it's a lot more accessible. And
Yes. I did actually check some chapters, and I think improved a lot by copying some
on
of
that
them.
note, tomorrow, like I do like I've been trying to do like hangouts in my own personal Discord for like study sessions. If people show up tomorrow, like somewhere around like noon or afternoon or so for like the homework hangout period or whatever, or midday, whenever I'm around, I'll ping the server on the Spaceball period and not the Spaceball period. I'll ping the Super Space Cadets in my personal server for when I'm doing that, and we can hang out and go over some anatomy art book stuff and prep for Wednesday. Like get some hand drawing drills in, and some other things.
I might be taking out my pentel brush because I'm not
maybe you can do it traditionally. It'd be fantastic, actually. So the daily hand drawing thing is till the end of the year. Yeah, it is. But then at the end of the year, we are going to commit. We're going to commit to doing daily hand drawings every day for a year. That's a New Year's resolution for everyone here. But between now and and the New Year's, if you mess up and you miss days and stuff, that just means that you need to rethink how you strategize, how you remember to do homework, and set yourself up for success in keeping up on something like that. Because use the subject of hands, because hands are really important. Use the subject of hands as like a testing ground for improving like your diligence and setting yourself up to make it easy for you to remember, to get regular practice in, and like make it a fun, accessible habit to keep doing. That's what I'm doing right now. Like I'm going to be doing some makeup tomorrow on the days that I missed, but I'm not beating myself up because I missed some days, because that's just a sign that I've got to reorganize things a little bit and strategize about how to better set it up. I'm actually going to be moving into a different room in this house sometime in next Friday, and so when I do, I'm going to be setting up stuff in the way I described, of like trying to set up like a sketchbook area where like there's like an open sketchbook on a table or something that I can always be going to, or that figure drawing bench I was talking about. And I want to set myself up to like surround myself with. If you like, for example, if you're trying to get in shape and lose weight, surround yourself with exercise equipment that's easy to access and easy to get into, and you can just hop on them, do a couple weight lifts and stuff like that. If you're trying to lose weight, that's a strategy for that is to keep the bad foods out of easy access and keep the good foods in easy access. When you grab something for a quick snack, you go for the good foods instead of the bad ones. Setting up your environment for good study habits is really important. I'm going to be working on that this week myself. Some of that will also involve reorganizing how I have my file set laid out on my PC, because I'm really badly organized right now. I need to do some New Year's cleaning, pre-spring cleaning, almost. One of the other things that I'm looking at doing is I don't know if I'm going to make it into a class, but I'm looking into the Drawbox site, because like there's some poor draftsmanship things and a lot of like perspective drills there and other things that I know would probably benefit me really well. In addition to like newcomers who are pretty new to draftsmanship and stuff. If I do it, I want to maybe see if I can do it traditionally, like the site recommends. I got one column and I'm one head down to the second column. So we start with the eye line, loop down around the nose like that. The brow up here. This is refreshing to do again, to come back to. So I definitely did get a lot out of doing this for the last or so, and this is like a nice, it's nice to have tools like this to read yourself when you wander a bit. This kind of structural approach to break down the heads and get some mileage in without stressing too much. We're training ourselves with a little bit of like kind of training wheels a little bit to see things three-dimensionally. That's the point of this, and to see the simple structures of the head that we're going to be using to solve some drawing problems or like head turns and so on with it. So that means when we get to doing the animation portion of this, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be taking like that kind of like raccoon mask thing and turning it in 3D space along with other things, because it's a 3D form that we've drawn, and because we've been doing different angles of the heads continually for the practice here, we should have like a good we should have like the visual memory of our brains for reading these things three-dimensionally up pretty good. So we should be able to break down some rough angles of head turning in space, and maybe even use multiple heads that we've drawn, even if they're not from the same subject, kind of solve some of those drawing problems. Like this real quick, actually. So she's got her jaw open right here, so it's hinged down like that. Keep that in mind. Sketch here to kind of figure out. So her hand is against her head, so that kind of gives away the side plane of her head a little bit more. It's tricky to kind of guesstimate these and draw over where her head and her skull is because of so much hair covering her head. But just do your best when you get like these things. You're trying to guesstimate. Unless you can actually see something, you just have to make an educated, measured guess with these studies. So, mind you, like the direction of the head changes, like here, basically at the hairline. And usually, the top of the brow is a measuring point on the side plane of the ear for the side plane where on the top of the ear. I think her ear is a little bit lower down on her face than most people, from what I've been drawing her as. This is a little closer though. But like the proportional structure is exact on her face. Probably. She is a real person, not a cartoon character. Drawing over. I'll just do like kind of a quick sort of Muppet mouth structure here, just to kind of like visualize the general planes going on there. Facial expressions is something I want to get more into. I want to get into that when I get more into facial anatomy. That is going to be something on the horizon for Monday class too. Like, when we do that, we're going to be treating it kind of the same way we do the Wednesday class. Because there's a lot of anatomy to keep in mind with facial expressions, and but understanding it and then simplifying it is the approach we're going to take. Yeah, some space dandies. Let's see, what are some of the other faces I did here? Some more dandies on the right there. Keep those there for. It's like this is definitely helping having the sub tool, the sub view tool here with some reference right there. I'm gonna check classroom chat real quick. I'm actually gonna take a quick restroom break. Okay, no one posted. So yeah, you can post your works in progress and stuff in classroom chat. And also, I really like these. I might actually after I finish this next drawing, upper head and profile right here, I'm going to start doing some draw-overs of some of the cartoon heads of some kind. Maybe some of the ones that Aganima posted here. Those are some really, really nice ones right here. In fact, those are really awesome too. This is a sheet that I've previously done stuff on. What I might actually do is I might take some of the Space Dandy stuff I did, and then we'll use that for this mini animation. This is something I did previously. And if you have something you did previously that you want to use for the animation portion of the class, then you can use that instead of what we've just done tonight. But what we've just done now. I'm gonna get the restroom real quick.
The first Noel, the angel did say, was to certain poor shepherds in fields as they lay, in fields where they lay keeping their sheep on a cold winter's night that was so deep. Noel, 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 born is the King of Israel. They looked up and saw a star shining in the east beyond them.
Alright, I'm back. Let's keep going, folks. Is good art workouts. We'll get in more practice and study tomorrow in my personal Discord too. Tomorrow is also Tech Tips Tuesday, so that's the time that I reserve around 2:30 for meeting up in my Discord and chatting with people who are trying to solve things with if people want to learn some things about building their own PCs and picking the right tablets and stuff for digital art. The Tech Tips Tuesdays segment in my personal Discord at 2:30 p.m. tomorrow. And also, you can ask me questions anytime. In fact, you can ask me questions right now about PC building for digital artists. And I'm happy to give tips about that. But
How do I build a PC if I'm broke?
yeah, well, I kind of have to solve that first. Yeah.
Yeah, probably.
First, you take a piece of paper, you draw a motherboard, and then you pretend it works.
Yeah, I've seen cardboard PCs, and there's the cardboard GPU market right now is booming. A lot of people trying to troll the scalpers that have been buying the new NVIDIA and AMD GPUs that just came out. Right now is actually a bad time to buy a PC, to buy and build a PC, by the way, because of part shortages. That's probably going to normalize. Yeah, where could I find a 5900X in stock? You and me both, buddy.
Yeah, it's gone everywhere, even on the enthusiast sites.
Yeah, but here's the thing. You have to keep in mind that what we're witnessing right now, it's not just the scalpers. What we're witnessing right now is, with both AMD and NVIDIA, is basically a paper launch. What a paper launch is where they don't have enough supply to actually meet demands, to keep stuff in stock when consumers get it. And essentially, the thing is not really released yet. For all intents and purposes, it's not really fully released yet. When something is released, that means it's widely available in the consumer market. What we're seeing right now with the shortages, you can think of it almost like a preview of like a product that is not technically launched yet, in a weird way. Like, it's launched on paper, but it's not really launched because the supply hasn't caught up with demand, so it's not able to get into consumer hands of consumers who can afford and want it. And paper launches are a long-standing practice of the tech industry, and even video game consoles. Nintendo has done this so many times, and we just saw it again with Sony and Microsoft, with PS5 and the new Xbox and stuff. Those consoles are quote-unquote not quite out yet, not actually out yet, except in some countries where they have been able to meet demand for it, mind you. Because this is a country-based thing. It's always the supply and the demand of the country that influences this. But in North America right now, those products are essentially not out yet. If you can wrap your head around that idea. They are essentially launched on paper. So keep that in mind. It is frustrating that you won't be able to get those CPUs and those GPUs, and it's also frustrating that the market is kind of for other stuff right now. Also, there's a Bitcoin craze going on right now, so there's other shortages for other kinds of stuff going on at the moment. Like the 3000 series CPUs are kind of selling out. The last gen GPUs are kind of selling out too. But basically, be patient, sit tight, and all will be good.
The biggest frustration is just that because of how big the performance jump was, you're just leaving money on the table if you don't do the current gen Ryzen and NVIDIA.
That's a sunk cost fallacy. That's a sunk cost fallacy, honestly. Because if you already have software and hardware that works, if you already have hardware that gets the job done, even though it's not the current, even though it's not the next big thing, you're not really leaving money on the table by not buying something. You're not really leaving money on the table by buying something. You're just not going to be able to buy the good value thing yet.
No, I mean, the twisted logic is just that the 3060 is basically a 2080 right now for basically the same price of what the 2060 is.
Yeah. The GPU prices are kind of in flux right now because the prices on the 20 series has not been adjusted in relation to the 3000 series. So it's basically if you're buying a computer that has a GTX 1660 or an RX 580, or maybe I think even the 5700 XT is still priced reasonably.
What do you think about the Quadro series from
Quadros? They are for creative. If you're getting a Quadro, you know why you're getting a Quadro. So only get those when you've only done your homework on why you need them. But they are
those are workstation grade graphics cards that no normal human being is ever going to need that.
Quote unquote normal. You mean regular consumers?
Yeah.
Most digital artists will be fine with a gaming consumer graphics card for getting their work done. But
do you think they make a difference in programs such as Blender or Maya.
Oh yes, they do. But again, you want to like know why you're getting it. Like specifically for Blender, they help the additional like VRAM and stuff helps immensely with like resource heavy tasks like rendering and stuff. But you like using a day-to-day use animation pipeline tool, a regular decent quality gaming GPU, even like a RTX 2060 would be just fine for Blender.
Got it.
You can even go like a couple gens back. Like I'm using the GTX 1080 right now, and it's fine for just like getting in. Just like doing the actual animation stuff. Oh Jesus, that head is fucking off. This like I'll fix this before I move on. Maybe I can measure proportions. Do something that doesn't like make my eyes bleed. But yeah, like yeah, like I said, like if you're buying like one of those kind of workstation GPUs, then you know why you're getting it. The same, yeah. RX 580, baby. Yeah, it's still old spec gen, but it's excellent for budget builds. It performs okay. It performs reasonable in at like medium or low settings in Cyberpunk also. Anyway, let me check the time. 6:20. We've only been at this for about an hour. Pity.
I might be building a PC by June or July the next year. You think it's a good time to purchase like?
Well, keep an eye on things. Hopefully things will have normalized by then. I'm pretty sure they will have by that time. And just do a lot of homework between now and then. And like, you want to get like a working parts build together. Like so, like you have a working parts build together that you'll be continually updating over time. Like you want to use something like PC Part Picker to help you kind of find stuff, and you want to like check out discords for PC building tech stuff. Like there's a Reddit called Build a PC that I'm in the Discord for, and they've been really helpful. There's some really surprisingly very knowledgeable people there, even in voice chat, will answer questions. They've also when I've tried to help other people and I have given mistaken information on stuff, they've derided me for giving bad info. And also, it looks like we have not had any dropped frames in the last hour, so it looks like whatever bottleneck issues were going on earlier have been taken care of. But anyway, PC Part Picker, they have you can sort it by country, the available countries in the country list, and you can see like you can check out like existing builds people have done for ideas. You can use System Builder and you can save parts lists and stuff. My parts list is actually on my Twitch page down below if you look for my specs on the Twitch chat page.
Do you buy
this one right here? This one is not my build right here. This one is a build I suggested for someone. Anyway, what's that?
I don't usually like to bring up my age or anything like that because that's weird. But I'm 16 and I'll be starting animation classes for SVA in a little bit in the spring.
Yeah.
Right, and they're
yeah.
and I'm paying for it with like contest money and stuff. Do you have any tips for that?
Pace yourself out. Don't try not to get burned out. To strategize about what's going to help you get the most value out of your classes, and like be ready to clock in like at least a good 8-hour workday on your animation work if you can. Well, I mean, depending. I don't know what your life is like because you're probably still in high school, I'm guessing.
Yeah.
Yeah. So pace out your studies in that. Like, take it seriously, but also have fun with it. Like, use it. Like, don't be late. Basically, like, don't be lazy on your studies for it. Try to put effort in and try to go above and beyond. what the assignments are in an intelligent way that doesn't burn you out, you know?
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
kind of funny because I actually had to I'm upgrading my PC because right now it can't handle like Adobe Animate.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
So
that's a good idea. What are you actually getting right now?
right
Trying
now,
to get. As I said, it's a bad time to get a PC, but I mean, you might be able to swing it.
oh no, my uncle, he's really good with technology and he's
Oh,
gonna hook
good.
me up with some stuff.
Yeah. Do some homework on it too. So, you might
Yeah.
there might be some artist specific thing. I suggest I know your uncle's good with tech, but as a good rule of thumb, a good parts list you can pick from for animators on the site Puget Systems right here that I've got on stream right now. I'll link it in the classroom chat also.
Yeah.
But yeah, Puget Systems, they usually keep themselves pretty up to date on like suggested parts list builds. You can also contact them for asking questions about building stuff about like out there.
If you don't mind me asking,
yeah.
did you go to a school for?
Yes, I graduated in 2012. Even in college of art design.
Oh, cool.
I actually don't recommend, because of how expensive it is. I actually don't recommend art university training for most artists. Because I would recommend enrolling in like stuff like Concept Design Academy or Watts Atelier or whatever. Because,
I would do that, but
because
the school I'm going to, the SVA, you kind of are guaranteed a job pretty much if
not
you
really.
put in the work.
No, that's not true at all. You're not guaranteed a job through any university. That's a little BS. What gets you jobs is the quality of your portfolio, and also whether or not you work well with others. So it does not. Don't let anyone tell you that like going to a university will guarantee you a job in art field. It comes down to. It comes down to portfolio. It comes down to networking and who you know, because the reason why networking and who you know is important is so that they know that you're someone who's pleasant to work with and stuff.
I'll be starting in the spring, and I kind of want to like get a head start on that. When are the animation classes that you hold?
Animation what?
Because like they're like animation classes, kind of like not, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Getting a head start. I would check out Richard Williams' Animator's Survival Kit.
Okay.
May I suggest the Force book by Mike Matesi also, or
yeah, that one can be a little bit tricky to decipher though, unless you have some anatomy knowledge. I'm planning on using more of it for some of my Wednesday or Friday classes in the future though. But let's see.
He streams every Friday, I think.
Anyway, I wanted to say one thing about Puget Systems. If you want like a good baseline system for an animation build, and you can scale it back, you can scale down parts. Like you can get a 3900X or even down to like a 3600X instead of the 5800X that they have here. Like something along these lines with maybe a few parts swapped out is good. And they also they have a system overview and hardware recommendations here, explaining why they picked the parts they did. They have this for Photoshop. The Photoshop build essentially is essentially a good 2D animator build and a good 2D artist build that also works for like 2D animators and stuff. If you're into more 3D, there's a design animation configuration.
Yeah, well, 2D animation is the goal, you know. I want to make my own show. I know that's kind of ambitious, and there are like steps to that, and it's not going to happen for a long time. But I'm working towards it.
So it looks like right now the baseline that they are recommending for GPUs for the Maya 3D animation design animation build is the RTX 3070.
Well, no, I'm going into 2D animation.
Yeah. No, I'm just mentioning this about the Puget System stuff they have on screen right now. Anyway, so that was a little kind of detour break right now of tech stuff. I'm gonna get back into doing this head drawing, and then I will do some head drawing over cartoon character reference. I've been doing photo reference here.
That's cool. Thanks, man. Big fan.
Yeah, thank you. Also, there's gonna be like much more hangout fun study times and stuff in my Discord. Like, I'm gonna be hanging them in my personal Discord a lot. in like just in general, because I'm finding it's really fun to study there. Last Sunday we got like about 10 people in there watching Nightmare Before Christmas and doing like draw together stuff. And that was pretty fun, and I want to do way more of that and study sessions and stuff, or just come in and just chill and chat and ask questions and draw. Like I'm trying to build a community for people to kind of like a smaller scale version of what goes on in the Ethan server or auxiliary. Like I'm still part of that community, and this my server is essentially like auxiliary to that community. But it's like this space is like my personal space to like prioritize the goals that I have with like what my classes are and stuff, and like talk about stuff that's more focused on the things that I'm going to be focusing on in my classes and other things, and like the people that pay attention to my classes, like the rapport that we kind of build over time, so I can devote more attention to people and give more specific feedback and get to know people over time a little bit better. We participate in this stuff. So let's see, is there any more I should do here? I think I will make a layer folder for this, put those away. Good. Put that template up there. I'm going to bring up the other reference that Aganima is one of my really good regulars, by the way. Generously posted in chat. So let's see, I have not done this page. I did this page previously, but this page is pretty good to do again, honestly. But maybe I'll do this page because I haven't done this one yet. So I'll bring this one up. We paste that in chat. Good. Throw opacity on it. Some normal rock wall faces from from that one painting about like playing the game of telephone gossiping, basically. Gossip spreads. I hope this file isn't too huge. Like as I have a bunch of other stuff opened up. That up. What's going on with this? I didn't have anything here. I just close that. Alright, so I don't know who the artist is who did these right here. These are really nice. Someone can let me know who the artist is. But actually, if we look at this real quick, you can see that they're using a really kind of rough, loose structure for like the basic sketch of the head. Like this is someone who's kind of practiced at a very like easy, simplified, someone who's pretty practiced at like and like some of those kind of simplified forms that we're messing with, but they're able to use it in kind of a more free, loose fashion because it's gotten really intuitive for them. So maybe we can play a little bit looser with this. I'm giving myself permission to play a little loose and be less meticulous with this. That kind of makes it a little bit more lively.
Yeah, I took those from Lois.
Yeah, if you can link them, and if you can link their art pages in chat, we can bring them up on stream to check out. Link them in classroom chat. It's really cool stuff. Yeah, and like the stuff like this is like where I'm aiming to head, and that's like the kind of stuff we're going to study. I've been continually sort of evolving how I do these classes, and I want to like I've been doing like trial and error, like figuring out what study methods work for me and what doesn't. And this one has been pretty good, and I'm interested to see how different things are going to be like in a few months of the approach that I'm taking for the studies and the classes that I've been doing and the outside practice and stuff. Then versus now, or then in the future versus now. Yeah, she's got kind of that exaggerated. This is very like kind of a Disney-based, almost like Disney-based kind of just Western animation design forms right here with these faces. I may actually use them for at least one of the animation test demos. Like what I'm doing right here is not too dissimilar from like what a animator or an assistant animator might do if they get a model sheet for a production and they're starting to like memorize. They need to memorize, wrap their heads around structure of the characters' faces, the faces and stuff. They'll do like drawovers, kind of figuring out the characters' face proportions because they want to have that stuff intuitive when they're animating and doing cleanup or doing in-betweens or tie-downs or whatever. So like doing kind of studies like these can be a good first step for wrapping your head around something that you're unfamiliar with. It's pretty interesting. Like there's a lot of like stuff you'll notice like a lot of animators have, because they work on productions that have very different styles, there's like these kind of like common denominator things that they use, tools that they use for their drawing that help them break down the faces of different productions and then adapt to those productions. And it results in some interesting, like when you see the roughs, a lot of times like the art style almost kind of changes a little bit, but the volumes of the thing being animated or drawn stay fairly on model usually. But then like, because like as long as the volumes and the general kind of gestural forms are working, then like the icing on the cake of getting the character on model and stuff kind of falls into place a little bit easier.
Actually, I'm a big fan of Lois's work, and I did my research, and she graduated from the an animation career in the Netherlands.
Yeah, there they
are. So
yeah, it's a very nice find. I'm gonna give them. Oops, I'm gonna give them a follow-on. Gotta get rid of that gesture that causes the Windows to collapse when I. Let's do that right now. Actually, shaking Windows pauses. Minimize. Off. How to disable shake to minimize in Windows 10. Okay, here's the step-by-step. Windows R. Type in gpedit.msc. And this is what I'm doing right now is happening off screen, by the way. User configuration. Administrative templates. On the right side tab, click turn off. Let me see here. What do they mean right side tab though? Oh, I think I found the options. Let's see. Turn off arrow shake window minimizing mouse gesture. I want to make sure that that is on. Okay, filter on. So should work now. Oh no, it's not on. Yep. Get it back. Get it back. Okay. So what happened here? Why didn't that work? Administrative template. Desktop. Administrative template, desktop. Let me check that instructions again. Wait, there's another way to do it. The multitasking settings, I can do it that way. Okay. Multitasking settings. Then arrange windows automatically when dragging them beside the screen and turn it off, I guess. Yeah. I think I accidentally turned it on and off. Alright, so let's turn that off and let's see what happens here when I shake the thing now. Good, good. Okay, so when I move stuff around to different desktops, it's not going to do anything goofy like that anymore, thank God. Yeah, good, good. That has messed me up so many times on stream. And now that's taken care of. Oh. That's I'm no longer streaming the go to my Twitch section. Yeah. Alrighty, so I'm gonna continue on these. What time is it? It's 6:40. Cool, so we got another 50 minutes to do these studies. Let's kind of speed it up a little bit. So tomorrow, we'll be getting more study in. I'll be doing more drawing like this and like some hand stuff. I want to dig into some drawing study materials. And another thing is I have kind of like a pseudo New Year's resolution where I'm trying to get like at least a couple finished drawings a week. Of like taking some of my previous older sketches or something that I've done recently, and doing stuff like the Spacedad Cyberpunk character I did last week. This guy. It's not the best drawing stuff, but I have a bad habit where I do sketches and I don't like try to work up a drawing. So I'm going to be doing that, and I'm going to be continually layering like painting techniques and shadowing techniques and highlighting techniques and practicing my coloring and my line work, walking through the process of doing like fully drawn out characters and stuff. And so I'll be getting at least one of those in tomorrow, in addition to other practice I'm doing. I think I want to combine what I do with that with some of the studies that I'm going to be doing. Like I have a few study resources I want to go over tomorrow that I might walk through with some of you guys in my personal Discord. I have a bunch of like tutorials from Trent Kanuga that I think I want to study, and I'll like kind of troubleshoot some things in. I think I bought a bunch of stem roads a while ago and I still haven't used them. I meant to last week. But we can dip into them a little bit tomorrow. It's pretty fun.
Can you demonstrate how you would apply these like guideline techniques when creating your own head from scratch?
Yes.
Drawing your own head.
Mm-hmm. Yes, I can. When we first off, you want to practice doing do freehand copies of the thing you just did. Like if you do a study like this, do like a freehand copy next to it. That'll kind of get you in. Like when I'm more warmed up, I start doing stuff like that. The other thing is that I have like a foundation in that I like you can use the raccoon eyes approach to kind of establish, or the Muppet mouth, or whatever you want to call it, kind of establish a face. I mean, look at that. I just established a face right there. I know what I kind of can sense what direction the face is turning right now. So that's enough for me to work with to kind of visualize, based on like these other drawings that I've, these other drawovers that I've done, like where stuff is, like where kind of like the side of the plan of the head is, down to the jaw, and so on. But I have more than that. Like I'm layering other knowledge that I have in with this So like, there's stuff about face proportions that goes into this. There's stuff about the stuff about the Loomis, like the structures of the Ender Loomis head, and some of the other things we studied in my other head drawing classes that are up on my YouTube. I actually need to make organized playlists of some of those in the near future, but there's some of them that are currently available. As you can see, I'm like doing a freehand kind of practice drill using this, and you do practice drills with this alongside like what you're doing with the drawovers. You kind of want to like take off the training wheels and try riding the bike for a bit. And then you go back to the training wheels, then you go back to the bike, so on. I mean, like, art is a lot harder, especially like art is a lot harder to pick up than riding a bike, but there's a lot of muscle memory stuff that does get ingrained. It gets easier to get back into drawing shape if you've done a lot of mileage. So like the synapses, the memory pathways are there, and they just need to be reignited, kind of. So you see, I'm like using this, like I'm using the same ideas now, but I'm doing it freehand with confidence, without looking at any reference stuff. And I'll talk a little bit more about like some of what's going into this guy. This guy's not perfect too, by the way. He's out of proportion a bit and stuff. Like I'm still trying to get back into like head drawing practice and so on. And also, I don't have like the free command of facial typing and characterization and other little subtle things that make for a much better head drawing than someone like this, for example, or even like, well, this or that. That's why you study people who are good. You also study reality too, real faces. But anyway, so I'm gonna talk a little bit about what's going into this head. There's a few things that are happening here. One that I have ingrained from previous practice in my head drawing sessions here. One of them is our old friend from earlier this year, the Loomis head, which you start with a sphere, like the general shape of the head. Also, like in hindsight, like the brows a little bit higher up than how I drew it. We'll be able to adjust some of the stuff I got kind of off in the freehand drawing there, actually using the Loomis head. But basically, the structure of the Loomis head is you start with a sphere and you chop off the sides of the sphere because that creates the side planes of the skull, basically. Once you chop off the side planes, you have like, you wrap this kind of like, you wrap like a halfway line around the skull. In this case, like, this head I'm drawing is angled slightly downwards, so that line is going back that way. And if we were drawing through the whole head, we'd be doing something like that. And of course, this is a side plane of a chopped off head right here. So if you look at it straight on, the sides are going to be chopped off, basically. And that creates like the basic kind of changing directions and space structure of the skull. Definitely. So now we'll be able to adjust some of the things I got wrong in this quick freehand study, which I sort of misplaced the face and the jaw, but we'll be able to use the Loomis head to get things back into place. So when you get this kind of side plane, you got kind of this crash test dummy crisscross right here. You can use that as a measuring device to find stuff. One of them is you can do another diagonal line right here. Then you wrap the line over the surface of the sphere like that. And you also wrap another one over here to find the top of the head. The top point of the head you kind of use to create a center line going on the front of the face, like that. I'm gonna move his chin up a bit because I think the whole part of his jaw was down a little low. I drew originally, so this is gonna be, you're gonna see me do some fixes on this guy. What I've done is I've done this kind of like, sort of like indented S-curve. So if you're looking at it from the side, it goes kind of like this down, following the front of the sphere down. It's kind of S-curve down there. And you can kind of guesstimate this measurement is going to generally be like roughly about like this or something. You can kind of eyeball it. But what you're going to notice here is this right here is a measurement for the brow line. That is a measurement for the hairline. Generally, like this, that's the distance between the hairline and the brow line. This is like divided up into thirds of the face, like one third of the front of the face. So like you can use this measurement here to find where the bottom of the nose is. You can use this measurement right here to find where the bottom of the chin is. And this is like a generic proportions for the head, kind of the same way that like the 8-head body is like generic idealized proportions of the body. Even though that's like, in the real world, like people's proportions can vary wildly. So next thing you do is, next thing that I'm keeping in mind is you can divide the head in half, basically. In this case, it's going to be going out a little bit because, like, you know, the head angle that's happening here. But the eye line is about halfway through the head, so that's actually higher than how I originally drew. I'm going to actually scoot the face plane to about where it needs to be here. Because there's actually not too much I need to do to fix the original drawing. Like, I can kind of erase this here, and then I get the cranial mass kind of makes a little bit more sense now on the proportions of what I drew. Just scoot it a little bit like that. But yeah, then I'm gonna find like the sides of like the cheeks where they turn in space. You come off like the side of this, like you're coming off a wheel of a car or something. Go down to the side planes of the jaw. Like that. And now that this is like the basic structure of like a Lima head. Now you can layer in that Ethan Becker raccoon Muppet mask sort of thing. I'm gonna use black to color code it here so it stands out. But yeah, you can use that now to kind of help you place the features a bit more, define the head a little bit. You can use these things in conjunction with each other. When you get used to freehanding this stuff, from doing like drills and kind of visualizing things, your sense of proportions from really drawing things is going to be more in the ballpark. Like this artist here, they're cartooned proportions and stuff, and just exaggerated proportions are just fine for like these kinds of expressive cartoon heads that are mostly in the ballpark of the proportions that they need for the characters. And you can see the undersketch on this, for example, the red line undersketch that they then like would take and do the kind of like a loose kind of painting head drawing on it, where they'd solve some of the things with like some pretty simple calligraphic strokes and stuff. But I mean, you do stuff like this to eventually build up towards the dexterity to do something like that. So you do slower kind of formulate studies, kind of ingraining the stuff, and then you work up your confidence to kind of dipping your toes and trying the more free approach, utilizing some of the basic information of this stuff. Like, it's all about layering in different layers of knowledge, and bits of it become more intuitive over time. There's also a certain amount of, like, in what she's drawing, like a certain amount of shorthanding going on that makes, like, this complex information of how the face works something that's kind of intuitive and memorized for her. Like, she isn't thinking completely about he or she, I don't know the identity of the artist exactly. The artist is thinking about the artist isn't really necessarily thinking about like all those things consciously. They have an intuitive knowledge from observation and practice from doing that. Like, making faces like this is a little bit more like composing a sentence for an artist like that. And that's where we want to get to over time. And we have a whole new year coming up ahead of us, now that I've refined my practice and study methods, where we'll be able to push that stuff. And also, the Christmas elves have been very good to me this year. I have a I have a small budget that I can take to enroll in at least one art class in the coming year. So I'm looking into what I'm going to enroll in and when, depending on what's available. Like, I'm going to enroll myself in a good art class. I'm going to ask around a bit. Some of the other pros I know, like what art class would benefit me the most right now. When I do that, I may actually cut back on like my Twitch stream classes because I'll be taking that and concentrate on that. But you might see me like do homework. You will definitely see me do like practice drills in my private Discord. I'm gonna have to like get permission from the instructor, the class, of like what information that they talk about if I take a class, because like I don't want to like give away this artist's like trade secrets for how they teach, kind of thing, you know. Like there's like handouts and stuff that artists like that have, or like particular ways that they approach stuff that they don't necessarily want, that wouldn't be too ethical to like spread around or something. I don't know. It really depends. It's at the discretion of the instructor, and I want to respect their wishes if I take a class like that. Anyway, yeah, we got ahead right there. There's some issues with it. I think the placement of the eyes isn't too hot and stuff. But I mean, like that's like an invented head, and then you do drill after drill of those to kind of get warmed up into them and stuff. And in future classes, I'm going to be layering more things like hair, because we're going to be doing more like hair-specific things in the future. Got like about 35 minutes till we do animation demo stuff. That should be fun. So I'm gonna maybe like kind of transition a little bit more towards that. I'm gonna use like these heads that I've done studies over as kind of like something to kind of loosen up on a bit. Because like this artist drew these pretty loose, and these are the kind of like very Disney-esque animation oriented character sketches. These characters' designs are not out of the ballpark for like something that like a Disney animator could actually animate. Like the legacy of stuff like Little Mermaid and Len Keane and so on is present in the approach of this kind of drawing. Very flowing, lyrical, and free, very expressive kind of feel stuff. So now that I kind of got that technical approach that we've been practicing for the last like hour and a half or so, I'm gonna kind of maybe try to vibe with something that's more intuitive, like what I'm talking about, like feeling out the head sphere, not really caring too much about making precise lines, feeling stuff out a bit, getting more free with it, because like when you're animating, you want to be more free and loose with what you're doing. So you're concentrating on movement. You don't want to be precious with your drawing for animation. But this will give me kind of a little more intuitive basis for what I'm going to be doing with like taking some of these heads and like animating new poses with them. You know. Like when I'm going to be animating, let's see here. Let's see if I can find an example of like Len Keane's rough animation. Len Keane rough. For now, I'm just kind of like live with these heads. So let's see, like there's. I mean, look at how crude that. Well, that's not really that crude, but look at how like few lines there are drawn in that frame right there. That one's a lot more involved because there's like shadowing and stuff in it. But there's some Little Mermaid drawings, especially if you see like Len Keane's initial drawings. Yeah, here's like some Fox and the Hound drawings, I think, by him or something that show off him like doing some studies that are really a lot more simple. Yeah, these are a lot simpler. Quick and intuitive. He's able to kind of sketch them out because he has like a memorization of the faces, and it just becomes about the facial memorization of the general kind of placement of the features, and it becomes the facial expression. Like here's an early pencil test that he did for Ariel. Kind of see a little bit what I'm talking about right there. How loose it can get. Take a look at what this is. This is some pencil test stuff. There's some Bambi stuff right there. That's meticulously. This is like cleaned up. This is not rough animation, but that's from Mark Davis. Mark Davis animated that scene. And this was referenced from live action, by the way. Not really rotoscope per se, but they did like study. They did use rotoscope as a basis for what they did. Like, oh yeah, there's a video in here. Maybe actually, I'm gonna link this in Discord and Classroom chat real quick.
Do you think the rotoscope technique helps improving your animation?
Well, rotoscoping is a technique of copying. The modern version of that is like in 3D animation is like cleaning up and pushing motion capture animation. Like motion capture becomes the starting point that like the animators use to kind of like fix things that kind of look uncanny valley and adjust things for a lot of like especially video games. But also like, you see that stuff happening in films, like so stuff doesn't look kind of like there are certain scenes in Cyberpunk 2020 that are hand drawn. They're not hand drawn, but hand animated. Some of them are. Most of them are mocaps that mocap cleanup animators take and then push and exaggerate and stuff. Like, so there is like even in production where there's like a lot of mocapping going on, there's a lot of like actual animation stuff that goes in. So it's not that dissimilar from like a game like Last of Us, if you think about it, is like essentially like The Rescuers or Sleeping Beauty or something like that, where it's part of that legacy of Disney animation in a way, where they take live action reference, but instead of using a camera to record the live action reference, they're using mocap. And then the animators take that and then they exaggerate they like push and exaggerate the mocap, and they play with it stuff to get it more intuitive looking and improve and like adjust the performance and so on. Like mocap has become a time-saving tool and also a tool for giving a much better starting point for the animators to work with. Like you can always tell when something is like lazy mocap, and it seems like seems a little bit off. But when like something that might have been mocap, but then like an animator did like some really meticulous hand animation in it, it usually like comes across a lot better. There are some exceptions, of course. Like sometimes some capture things are so well done, or the performance that the mocap actor gave is like pushed enough on its own that it feels like it's hand animation. There's always exceptions to that stuff. That's stuff like that is another tool, and that's the other thing. Like live action reference is a way to study reality, and so I'm making that part of our part of my classes more recently. That's actually one of the homework assignments this week. You're supposed to do a draw over rotoscope study, kind of picking out keyframes for Saturday animation class. You do that, and then you use a character of some kind that you created yourself or that you got from something else to basically reinterpret the action you just studied into several key poses for animation. And that's the approach that like the classic Disney animators took, where start with live action as a starting point. They study it, they draw over it, they break it down to understand the timing and understand what a weight is and stuff, and then they riff on it with their own version of it. Like you can see it, like there's some Cinderella tests, for example, where they like those fairy godmothers in Cinderella, the three fairy godmothers and stuff. or whatever. No, not Cinderella. Sleeping Beauty has this in it. Sleeping Beauty with the 3 fairy godmothers in it. Like there's like footage, pencil test footage, where Disney animators took the extensive live action actor reference that they made for like almost every shot in that film, and they drew over it, and they did really good kind of rotoscope studies of it. But that's not what went into the film. What went into the film is once they understood it, they were able to create like exaggerated and much more like lively performances of the characters using kind of the rhythms of what and some of the reality that they got from doing that study. So not to kind of just like there's a lot of times you'll see actual like straight up rotoscoping pop up sometimes for like a weird effect, because straight up rotoscoping usually has this kind of like a similar sort of uncanny valleyness to its emotion, the same way that like raw mocap data often does. Like if it hasn't had the hand of polish to plus the performance in it yet, then it, with some exceptions, usually it generally looks a little bit odd. Oh wow! Thank you for leave me moment 6 for the raid with Party 5. Thank you very much. You always start with the eye mask? Depends. Kind of like, let's say you got an apple, and you see that there's a really nice side to the apple that you want to bite into, like this particular apple versus another apple you pick up. The same way when you pick something to start with to kind of hook yourself into the head. Like sometimes I might start with the head sphere, other times I'll start with like the front of the face. You start by doing more of these, you start to kind of develop a sense for that. There are more formulaic approaches to this stuff, but we're kind of getting like sketching in here and kind of seeing what works and what doesn't for us. There are more like kind of formulaic, consistent approaches you can take, like especially for like long pose drawing, for this sort of thing. But we want to hopefully get to the point where we don't even really necessarily need that raccoon mask anymore. We want to get to the point where we can like just start drawing the brow in and have that kind of be the basis of what we do. We won't necessarily use that all the time, but it's like we want to be intuitive enough in our understanding of how the brow works, using these training wheels to visualize things and to reel us back in when we kind of feel ourselves wandering. But this guy is pretty interesting. You can see like from how his eyes are going, he's kind of like, if we could see X-ray vision of his ear, his other ear would probably be about up here. His head's tilted. You can see like a little bit of the underside of his teeth right there on the other side too. It's kind of hard to see without the resolution of this image, but that's there. And you can see the underside of the brim of his hat. And so I'm not going to draw too much more into that. I just wanted to show that off a bit. But yeah, pay attention to like the planes of the head. You can watch for the side planes. Look for like kind of markers. Like you can look for like there's like kind of a mark point that you can use. Let's like we can actually like play a little bit more free with this right now. We don't have to draw complete heads if you're pretty warmed up with this. Like so, like there we go. We got like the brow change right here. We just did a quick, super quick sketch study, shorthanding now how that brow change works, and we kind of know what the side plane of the head's going to do, so we can just kind of plot in the ear and stuff, kind of following like a line. Like we don't need to draw like a guideline for that because we understand that the top of the ear is generally going to be somewhere around, with some exception, like around where the brow is. You want to use stuff that you feel like, I think I'm not going to be able to find that as easy. So in this case, I'm kind of doing like a little center line down the front structure of the face a little bit to sort of help me a bit. And I think I might actually bring some of the raccoon eye or the teeth and vector wedge into the face a little bit. Like, I want to kind of dip in and out of using these and, like, I want to play with these tools and have them, like, free at my disposal to use or not use when I need, basically. And you can do that with just about anything. You'll be doing like slow, depending on what you're doing, you'll be doing like slow, meticulous, structured studies or quick, loose, free sketching. When you're animating, after you've done like the meticulous studies, you want to do the meticulous studies to warm up to doing the free stuff, because you want to slow down and get things right, and then get that intuitive so that, like, anyone here who's ever played fighting games knows that when you're learning how to do like a new combo in a fighting game, you want to do it in slow motion. You want to do it slow sometimes to get the muscle memory of it in place. Kind of figure out how like the game feel of using it plays out. That's kind of the same thing here. Like, we're kind of like playing with these tools that are going to become intuitive to us over time. Yeah, you can see the other eyebrow. Yep, exactly. You need to see the other eyebrow on this guy too, like right here, right there. See, one eyebrow, one eyebrow. It's like this. You can even argue that like some of his eye here is probably, not really, not at least how Rockwell painted it. Norman Rockwell, by the way, used extensive live-action photo reference, but he pushed and exaggerated and changed stuff up in the expressions that he took photos of. He also used his own faces in the mirror to kind of like the same way an animator uses a mirror with facial expressions and stuff. Like, good artists like make use of every single tool that they have available to them to get good results. Like Norman Rockwell did historical reference and costume reference. He had that handy. He would act stuff out himself. He would in the mirror, or like just while he was painting, he would look in the mirror at his own face. He would take photo reference of friends, family, neighbors, and stuff for his pieces. He would use every part of the buffalo to get good results with his drawing habits, and that's something that we all want to move towards. We're going to be, I'm going to be, and we're all going to be gradually layering that kind of stuff in the coming year. It's like bit by bit, I'm kind of digesting these tools. Some of these are tools that I used years ago, but I'm horribly out of practice with. But I want to make it all super, super intuitive, because I want to be a way better artist than I have ever been at any point in my life using this stuff. What time is it right now? 11:12. So I'm going to start strategizing about what heads I want to use for the head drawing, or the animation stuff we're going to do at 7:30 for like the last hour. What we're going to do is I'm going to take like some poses, and we're going to draw like in-betweens or additional key poses of a head turn, and we're going to see how like we can create like a smooth head turn. Maybe I can do some like rough poses and stuff. I might use some of the previous studies that I've done in previous weeks, like this, especially because like this model sheet, for example, I did right here. That would be good to like take two poses from like this or something, and then like make the in-betweens for them. Like Dandy changing his facial expression from one pose to another, for example. That's probably what I'm going to be doing. Yeah. I think that would probably get the strongest results. I'm doing this little experiment. Definitely with Space Dandy. I'll do like at least one or two demos with that. This is nice. It's nice and cozy to get back into this stuff. I'm going to take a look at Classroom Chat, see if anyone's posted anything. Yeah, post stuff in Classroom Chat if you're working on stuff right now. And I'm actually going to take a before I get into the animation stuff, I'm gonna maybe take a look in my personal Discord and check the homework section. Drawing homework. Drawing homework shares. Let's take a look here at stuff that people posted in the last week. Not a huge amount, but this is good studies from last week, covering like structures of the face and portrait commission stuff. See, this artist did draw-over studies, freehand portrait studies, pushing the portions of the face, pushing exaggerating features to find likeness and type. Like trying, like the part of the thing, what we were doing was like we did like studies like this, and we tried to push and exaggerate the features like that, for example. They also did some studies of existing really exaggerated faces that they have for artists that they like. It's cool. But it's slowly kind of like trying to develop it, and some of these are like, they did also like side-by-side freehand studies and stuff. This is a really good page right here. So really, really good practice, and I would say just keep doing this. Sure. You're on a good track, keeping it crispy, which I hope that they showed up today. That'd be awesome if they did. Kudos. That's them trying to play with some painting stuff with one of the characters they did, which is another thing I suggested. Like trying to take one of your sketches, take some of your sketches that you've done like this, and work up like kind of use it as fodder for trying some painting and shading and coloring practice. That's pretty cool. Awesome work. Aganima, yeah, this is the page that I was doing stuff on. Let's take a look at what they did with their practice. Good draw-overs. It does feel like there's something a little bit missing in these versus those. I would say just like keep doing this kind of stuff, because eventually you'll kind of get more fidelity with your approach line work, but you're starting to like wrap your head around this stuff, how this stuff works. So just keep doing it and keep kind of like fine-tune things so things are less ambiguous. Like for this, for example, you got kind of confused and ambiguous on this one. I would maybe like kind of when you make mistakes on something like this, I would maybe kind of like drag that over and put this over here and see what you got wrong here in this versus the draw over. I'd say also the draw over here. The draw over is kind of a little bit kind of off. Like I kind of give myself a lot of berth when I do these. Usually, it's good. Did that layer get moved? Yeah, it did get moved. Yeah, that underlayer got moved. That's why they're all kind of off a bit, because I moved that up there. So I'm gonna copy paste this. And then I can move this back into place here. I got a little sloppy with that. Let's move them back to where they need to be. Just about here-ish, I want to say. But yeah. I kind of want to like really dig in a little bit more if we can. Okay, I did these a little bit looser than I did like the previous studies though. I'm gonna make it older to easily turn these off. But really take the time to really kind of explore those structures and stuff. Like I kind of did that on these live action photos right here, where I was really paying attention to the structures of the face stuff a little bit more. It's still pretty loose, but like kind of really trying to wrap my head, really give myself enough berth in the drawing to like create that space, because like it looks like when you did the sketching on your studies here, I don't think you gave yourself enough berth in your sketching to really handle like those tight angle turns and things like that. So it kind of did the draw overs. It's like not quite the fidelity for getting the full value out of what you need. Like you need more space to really kind of it's like sculpt out that eye and the brow and things like that, where it gets kind of like ambiguous here on that one. I mean, keep doing more of these. try to like dial it in a little bit. You can still keep it loose, but not. But aim for loose, but not sloppy, I would say. And it's also going to be a matter of building your dexterity and your confidence over time too. So the more of these you do, and the more you try to like zero in on getting on that stuff I'm talking about, the better you'll get at them. So just keep doing it. I'm not gonna. I'd say these are pretty pulled up. These are pulled up pretty well right here. I get a good, even though they're like small and quick. Like I do have a good strong sense of them. Maybe going into some more Norman Rockwell stuff might be something that helps you feel more confidence. I'd say definitely more photo stuff too.
Thank you so much for your feedback.
Yeah, I mean a lot of it is like a lot of it's like observation and adjusting, note and like pushing yourself and stuff. Some of what I was talking about is also going on here. There's stuff that's a little bit off in like these. For these, like obviously, like I think this is following the homework from last week where I told people to push things a bit. So some of these some of these might be a little bit pushed, but even so, like it might be a good idea to like, because there's a lot of problems that are happening here, like how that jaw is handled and stuff, and like for example, the expression on this face. It doesn't look like the mouth is like pushing an expression. It looks like the mouth is misaligned more because the artist doesn't quite understand how to push them. How like the fleshy mouth moves around in the face and stuff as much. What can kind of help you nail that back in there is kind of like taking what you did over here and like overlaying it over the study or the original photo reference. Seeing what you got wrong, like definitely like on this for example, that would help a lot. I also think even on this study right here, a center line would help you establish things more, because this is starting to look a little wonky because you didn't have a center line to kind of measure off of. Like the features are kind of going a little crooked. But then like on this one for example, the artist did a smart thing of establishing the angle right here on the jaw. That's actually a really smart move. I mean, like a lot of the stuff it's like mileage and continual practice. Like when you make mistakes and you kind of when the first time you try to like build a house, you're going to be really terrible at building the house. So build another house, build another house, build another house. Get used to working with the materials. And a lot of the stuff is you're not gonna be able to wrap your head around how the 3D forms of the face work without bashing your head against the wall several times. Stuff.
And without someone else.
For this person, I would say, like really slow down and do more of these. Some of these studies are getting a little bit more successful than others, but definitely like when your freehand stuff is wandering quite a lot. So I would, when you do a freehand, overlay it over and see what you got wrong, and then pull it back, and then take it off, and then try to adjust things.
Right.
Yeah, and it's all about like kind of like wrapping your head around what you're seeing so you can use it better. Like it's a mixture of like it's an extra. You're trying to strengthen your eye to see these things, and you're also trying to strengthen your dexterity to be able to pull off interpreting these and breaking down these things. That's what I'm doing here too. Like when I do these, like this is an exercise. This is a workout basically with engaging with that part of my brain. Like I'm thinking about like a clear sense. I'm trying to exercise when I do these like a clear sense of dimensionality. Sometimes I get it wrong, and I need to fix, or I need to make a note about like what went wrong or something, what can improve on. But like for example, in this guy right here, I've got a directional plane change in mind. Front plane of the head versus the side plane, or the top plane. And you want to wrap your head around that stuff. And same thing with like the forms of the eyes and so on. Like everything kind of breaks down. And the good news is like that Ethan Becker wedge that we've been using, which you can use on the other parts of the face, is a simple 3D tool I would watch Ethan Becker's video again too on this, on the use of the wedge, because you can kind of imitate what he does to sort of further break stuff down. And like I said, give yourself more berth to pull off the lines that you need to pull off to get those structures in.
Yeah, I think I did like a speed run in the freehand version.
Yeah, yes, it's not. That's the other thing. It's not a race. You can speed up a little bit when you start getting getting more intuitive with it. But I did these really, really slowly, like for several weeks before I started playing it. And even then, I would say that I think I need to slow down too. But it is not a race to do these. You can do remember like on the first day that I did these, I did like 2 columns of these in about 3 hours with all of you in here. Because I was not used to the technique. But like now, and I'm coming back here out of shape. But even so, like I've been able to get like a considerable number of these studies in with you all here, because I have a better understanding of it. Remember, it's not a race. It's all about you and your growth. I would say that really slowing down to get 1 column of these, or maybe even just like 1 of these well done, is better than powering through too many of them too quickly. So everyone should try to slow down and just take it chill. Slow down and observe. It's not anything to be intimidated with. You give yourself permission and time to really pay attention and stuff, and you don't beat yourself up, because the point is to slow down and absorb it, and give yourself permission to make mistakes. And Lord knows I'm going to be making mistakes. We're all going to be seeing the mistakes I'm going to make in about 5 minutes when we start doing animations. So I'm really keen on, maybe I'll do like a Spacedad demo, and maybe a demo from one of these. I really like these kind of like Glen Keane adjacent sort of Disney-esque head shapes like this. You can even simplify like the basic forms of the head into kind of like this sort of shape. There was another artist, I think this is the same artist, was on that other sheet that we had, that had like, for like their heads, they had this kind of like simple, they're Disney-esque cartoon heads. They have this kind of basic simple shape, basically, with directional lines or and stuff. This artist, we can actually see how they built the structure of the head. Like you can see there, they did something like this. But they're using like very kind of Disney rhythms, and so on. Disney rhythms and head structures. And as you start getting intuitive with this stuff, like when you're doing quick sketching or animation and things, there's you can actually use like parts of the face as your measuring devices. Like you'll see a lot of animators often like use like the brow itself as their measuring tool instead of like a mask like that, or a center line or something. Or you'll see like on this case right here, it kind of looks like they were using the actual like hair here as like as a way to kind of track the side plane of the head a little bit easier. Yeah, let's maybe pick out a couple of these. So this is what's great is like the Spacedad right here. These are all like of the same character, and then we have more poses of the same character here. So we have our work cut out for us for doing something, for doing like a head repose. I'm thinking I'll probably do, this is a key pose, that's a key pose for that character. What I might do though is I might like change the neck direction or something. We'll see. Or I can have like the body right here, but the character just kind of turns their head up. Yeah, I'll probably do that. I might move the body up a bit too, like as if their body is coming up along with the head. Okay. And as for Spacedad, I think I know the poses I'm going to use for him. Let's see here. So I like him going from side view to profile kind of, so maybe those. But another one could be this one and that one. And what's also cool is like I have his head at different angles and with his head proportions here. So if I need it, so like if there's one that if I flip this, for example, if I flip that, I can kind of find maybe something in the ballpark of an in between for him that might, or an in between guide for a particular angle when he's transitioning to that. So I wonder, should I do Space Dandy first or should I do? Okay, Google, stop. All right, so now we're going to be entering the animation portion of this class. And first things first, those of you with Clip Studio or interested in getting Clip Studio, pay close attention because I'm about to go into animation mode, and I'll share with you how to use Clip Studio for animation. It's not immediately obvious how to set it up for it. So let's see here. Gonna bring the timeline back. So what I got right now is my basic setup for animation. I've put this together, and I'm going to be continually evolving my setup and workflow for how I animate. But you can kind of try to copy the layout that I have a bit. This is my layers right here, my animation cells down here. I like to have the color wheel here. That's just me. Standard color set. You can change color sets that you might have loaded in there. If you're working on something where there's a character model color palette, you can have their color palette loaded in here, for example. I'm a fan of using the Real G pen, but there's other pens I could probably use that might give me different results. I like the Real G pen because it feels the most to me like an animation grease pencil. But there's other pens that I've seen other animators use in this program. Oftentimes you see animators use a marker pen, like a Millipen or something, that has no thickness, almost no thickness to it, because that lends itself to better simplicity in doing structured drawings and stuff. But the grease pencil approach is something that's very kind of Disney-esque that I'm used to because I was trained by Disney animators, so this is what I tend to favor. So you'll see Glenn Keane types using that an awful lot. So in any case, we'll get started in a when you want to start a new animation, you want to go to File, New. Make sure that the frame rate is set to 24, unless you have a reason to set it to 30 or 60 or something. If you're doing something for general game animation, it's going to be about 30 or 60 frames. So if you're doing something specific for a game that's going to be appearing in game, not during a video cutscene for the game or something, then you probably want it at 30 frames per second. But most of the time for regular animation, it's going to be 24. You can pick your workspace template size. I usually just use 1080p. That's usually pretty good ratios and size. If you're doing cleanup in vectors, that can always be upscaled to 4K and stuff later. So maybe just stick with, unless you have a reason to stick with 1080p. If you're doing crazy camera moves in the thing, then you want to add a lot of extra blank space around the borders, because see that blue area there? That's where stuff is going to output, but that's where stuff is going to be seen when you render the video, when you render the animation. Outside the borders is stuff that's not going to be seen. You can use that to put reference in or put notes in that aren't going to be in the actual thing. Or if you do a camera move and stuff, you want to kind of have a lot of space there that you can move the camera across. So anyway, we're going to start a new, let's see, how to flip. So you're faced with a new file here. So first off, on Clip Studio, you're gonna notice something. You're gonna notice something when you try creating new layers. Like say, like, oh, I'm gonna draw my character here, and now, okay, I want to make a new frame. I'm gonna create a new layer, and then try drawing here. What the fuck? I can't draw. It's not letting me draw. Well, the reason for that is so the actual cell on your timeline is if you notice, like when you see like me shifting between these, it makes this layer visible and not visible, and it makes this blank layer visible right here. The way animation works in Clip Studio is like you watch this when I go through these frames here, like it animates by making the different layers in the timeline visible and invisible. That means if you want to add additional frames, you got to make additional frames that you draw in. Or let's say like you had like let's say like you wanted to make this frame be this frame, for example. But let's make this frame. We want this frame to be the same drawing as that frame there. Right click on the timeline, and you see that little column right here? You can pick one of the number drawings where you see the numbers down here, right? And the layers. There we go. That dude. So I'll go to the other animation demo file. So like what I did here, when you want to create, like, say for example, you want to create a cleanup layer, or you want to like lower opacity on something to do another rough pass on it where you're kind of working out the animation more. You want to create a new timeline, a new animation folder layer. So I've got my roughs layer down here. My cleanup, an example of a hypothetical cleanup layer right there. And the other thing that you want to keep in mind, say like you want to change the timing of an animation. When you move this, it's not going to be changing the timing of this, is it? So when you do that, you want to grab it all and drag it out and stuff. There's actually apparently supposed to be some shortcuts that let you kind of do that a little bit more automatically, but giving yourself a little bit more berth down here to manipulate the timeline definitely helps out with doing stuff like that. If you want to create new animation cells, there's that. I would suggest setting up a hotkey for it. The hotkeys that I have are actually, you know what? I actually have a clip, a Twitch clip, where I show all my hotkeys, and I will link you guys that. How's that? So let me go to clips. So if you want to refer to it, I have a animation thing real quick. I'll share it, copy link. Here we go. So just watch that. That is a pre-recorded thing from another day I did this, talking about my shortcuts that I currently use. I'm going to be evolving them over time in Clip Studio. So if you need to refer to that, you can do that. But I use that to like kind of like I can go frame back and forth in frame. I can turn on and off onion skinning mode with a key press, and I can open the onion skin settings with a key press. I can create new animation cells with a key press, and have playback. You do playback, stop, and start with the key press and stuff. Anyway, that's a general overview of it. You can refer back to what I did in the video later, or you can watch the clip that I posted for the hotkeys and previous recorded classes on Twitch. The one that clip is from is I'm waiting on removing some copyrighted content from it before I can post it to YouTube. So just keep that in mind. All right, so with that out of the way, let us grab. Close that. Actually, I don't really do this anymore. Oh, I didn't really get into it, but camera moves. There's actually, I'm not going to get into camera moves because I've actually forgotten how to do it, but yeah, you can do camera moves and clips. That kind of thing I just did there as a little test. But we're not going to get into that right now. What we're going to get into right now is going to make a new file.
And you know what? That brings me to...
Sorry, get off the screen, Ethan. I'm going to make a new file, 24 frames a second. Let's do head animation turn downloads. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to load in. I mean, I have this on the right here that I can use as reference for this. I'm going to maybe start with the Spacedad. So I'm going to load in import image. I'm going to bring in the file that I've done previously of this stuff. And it's inside the animation folder, so I'm going to throw it back out outside of it. Looking up here. There, it's a giant file, so I have to kind of shrink it. Get it in the ballpark of where I need it, sorta. So the poses I'm looking for is this and this. If I had more time, I'd probably maybe do that, that, like that. Let's try that, maybe, actually. I think we have enough time to maybe do that. Sure. What I'm going to actually do is I'm going to just directly like kind of copy paste these heads that I've done, head studies that I've done out of here. That. Not going to resize it. I'm going to keep. I think all the heads are generally kind of like the same proportionate size to each other on this expression sheet. Yeah. I have a little kind of like an animatic starting point using these. Well. I'm going to throw these into, whoops, I'm going to throw these into layers. The first panel is going to be it's a little odd. It should be visible. Maybe I have to maybe I had to rasterize the layer. That might be what's going on here. There we go. Let's try that again real quick. One. Yeah, there might be some like weird shit going on with the masking layers. Oh wait, I don't hear. Oh, those are outside of the regular folder. Okay. Oh, now it's working. Okay, so I got that. View panel. And I got. What is going on here with this? It has something to do with me moving this stuff off screen. My question. Oh, there it is. I think it just got like, yeah, that's what I know. There we go. Okay, so now I'm going to reorder these frames here, and these will be like my animatic reference points for this animation I'm going to do. So let's see here, like that out over here, that over there. This would be my starting point. Second pose, third pose. I'm going to do a little bit of trace back here. Remember to hydrate, yeah. Get rid of these because I don't need them. I'm going to create a new animation folder on top here. And I'm going to lower the opacity on this one. And now I'm going to create a new panel. Now I'm going to do a quick rough animation draw over this head study. Like, I don't need the full scale anatomy and stuff, and I don't need to like add in all the full details of Space Danny's head. I just need like the basics of like the structure of the head that I have. It's kind of like rough. Maybe not use red. I'll maybe use blue. I'll put like a little bit of like maybe like his hair shaved or something. Actually, just enough that gives me enough information to kind of work with the turn I'm gonna do. It's a little bit closer to the model sheet. Like the study I did is to kind of understand how the structure of his head works, but I kind of want something that's a little bit more to how his design works a little bit. I don't necessarily want to like draw in all that detail, for example, right away. But put in like some loose placeholders stuff. Part of this is almost kind of like feeling out what would be the best approach to this. I just want something loose for now. That'll get me started. Do his shoulders there, like a kind of rough placeholder for his shoulders. Your own nose structure a bit. Nose. And as far as like getting the character on model, that's something that I would do later after I like establish the motion of this. So I'm not too worried about getting him completely on model right now. I want the volumes and the structure to be working right for this. Like, for example, like when I go back into it, like later phases, I would pay attention to like what's happening to his hair, his back of his hair when his head turns and stuff. Look at that. Suppose. And autosave. I'm going to close the other files I have here, so I have more system memory to work with. Doing a recovery saving thing. Let's close this. Close our head drawing friend that we've worked on. That. Close that. Close that. Close that. Now we're going to be in a much better spot with there's a system recovery or a save, because this file is a much smaller file, relatively speaking. Surprisingly, I think it's saving. It's spending a lot more time to save right now because I've got a giant file that I'm using as reference. So in order to speed this up, I'm going to maybe save another version of this that doesn't have the giant ass reference file in it. I'll just delete those images after I do the trace back on his head. Or I can rasterize those, maybe that might work. Yeah, I'll do that right now, actually. So, can I convert to raster? I'll worry about that after I get the drawing in. So, next step. So I want the general overall shape of his head on this kind of part of the turn. It's pretty much like cut out for me. Space Dandy has like a very kind of like stylized sweep to his hair. Part of his really fun design. I'm gonna include in there, and then it's gonna like include like that wedge in his hair there is basically all you need to really describe like the side plane of his head. Basic structure of Zero. I'm just gonna like throw in a quick kind of placeholder for his hair there. I'm not too concerned about a huge amount of detail, but this is a little bit more important, so I might include a little bit more of this. But I wouldn't necessarily like agonize over that his head turns. And I included more anatomical detail than there was in my study. I did this, so I'm just gonna do that and maybe repeg it and then adjust his shoulders a bit so the animation looks a little bit more seamless. That looks when I turn the opacity off. Oh, there's some stuff I should probably add in, actually. A little bit more of an indication of like what's going to happen with his hair there might help. Doesn't need anything huge, just kind of placeholder there. It'll be time for me to get him on model later. So these are meticulously structured heads for the key poses, and the next thing I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be doing very rough, loose in-betweens for the head, breakdowns and in-betweens for the heads, to keep it like rough and loose and stuff, because I want like the general feel of the head turn, maybe like without the features initially. That a little bit. Like this line right here on the side of his head, you can even see it in here. It's more of a, it's like you got this curve going over the top, the C curve going over the top of his head, straight right there. There's this sweeping curve right here that terminates up in these kind of concentric spikes of his front of his pomp. Stuff. He's a really nice character design. He's got like these kind of right angles for his hair that's also kind of following a sort of a cascading pattern there. There's like good rhythms to his design. That's part of what makes him such a pleasing design to look at. Designs that have like pleasing looks to them also tend to be designed. They tend to be like stuff that has simple shapes in it that play against each other really well. That is much easier for animators to track and memorize. Get a little bit of the structure of his collar in here a bit, but I'm gonna have to probably adjust this stuff because I've been repegging things for his shoulders and whatnot. By repegging, I mean repositioning things, like moving things along animation pegs, basically. If this was like being done traditionally. Okay, so let me turn this off. What I'm going to do is I'm going to save this. I'm going to save a new version of this. Name it 1B instead of 1A. Now I'm going to fly blind. I'm going to delete the really actually no, maybe I should rasterize those. Well, I'm gonna rasterize this or die trying. So let's try that real quick. Rasterize. Okay, that's one down. Take that one out. Off. Break this one out. Break this one out. This one. This folder. Split the folder. Rasterize this. So I'm doing this just so like I can still have the reference here if I need to refer to it again, but without like taking up a huge chunk of system memory from the giant file and import it. Basically, that's all I'm doing. So let's see here. Because it's a giant, like, work file I made when I was doing that thing, so. Third layer. Hey. Okay, so now I can delete these. And if I need reference, I've got it over here. There we go, now it saves really quickly. Because I have less data in this file. So, and I still have my reference. Now I can put this back in here. Reference working again. This panel gets turned into that. This panel gets turned into visible. It's the wrong frame. There we go. And this gets turned to come on. Could be this one, right? No. That one, that one. That should be that one. There we go. It was just, it had the opacity turned off. Okay, so I got my reference layer and my everything else working. So I'm going to turn this off. So we've got like kind of a starting point here, and I can repeg this as I need to. So I'm going to maybe like take this, for example. Spacedad is like going from that to that. That looks pretty good. And from that to that, this should go maybe about like right. This should go more over here. So the first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to create a new layer. You can just concentrate on the new layer. Animation folder. A new animation folder, I mean. New panel. Lower opacity on those. And I'm going to, let's see. Use black. I'm going to use black. Those. Save file. I'm going to save another backup of this, so I have a workspace file to go back to. That's set up for me just in case something goes wrong here. Now what I'm gonna do, first thing I'm gonna do, I'm gonna go through this. And just do like a quick draw over. I think the general kind of structure of the head, and a little bit of the neck. All I need is like simple lines and like a C curve and S curve and like an eye line here with the eye. Like you'll see animators drawing like really crude when they start scenes and stuff. Like, I'm trying to kind of intuit what's going on here a bit. So like shoulders like that, shoulders like that. I'm going to be modifying the poses a little bit. My liking. Kind of want going like down and up when he does this little action. I'm gonna make one breakdown. He does that a bit. Mark his shoulders there. You know. Yep, seeing his shoulders coming up. Kind of looks like a, Josuke from is Unbreakable. Right now. That pump. Like if I did this, that really looked like Josuke. It's not exactly on model the Space Dandy. Like he's very confident. He's got like very kind of specific angular stuff to him. But that's okay. Like you kind of want to establish the motion first, like the overall volumes and so on, before you really nail down the Christmas music is slowly driving you insane. Yeah, maybe I can put on something else. Let's see what we got. Royalty. Free synth. Let's play Synth Arcade Radio. How's that? That'll just be like in the background then. So one of the things I'm going to be paying attention to, like, I'm less concerned with like the kind of like blocky structure than I am with like the squishy bits. The stuff that's turning in space, yes, but like the squishy bits of the face and like how they're going to change and alter the expression and stuff. Or like kind of roughing in like the general indication of that. You can see a little bit of that in like Glenn Keane drawings. He kind of like takes a really rough, loose approach to the facial expressions, so that they read even like in this really crude form. I'm just using this as kind of like a starting point to play with, because I'm going to have to modify my keys a bit to the rest of the animation. Like I have to kind of work out what his shoulders are going to do. They're not going to be the best drawings, because I'm still kind of like getting a sense of what's going on here a little bit. Still wrapping my head around the character and stuff. Alright, so what I need here, I need a breakdown pose from here between these two. Turn on onion skinny. So I need a pose of like Space Dandy's head kind of like down like this. And this is going to be like super crude. Like I don't care about anything other than kind of getting a little bit in the ballpark of where his volumes are. I'm going to use a bit of the Ethan Becker wedge to kind of get a little bit more of that sense in there. Some of this is also going to be me kind of warming up to kind of using this head turn in the models stuff. So I've turned off the onion skinning, and I'm kind of like using my sense of like thinking how this thing turns fourth dimensionally by flipping back and forth between it. So to create the next pose. Like there's times when you want to turn the onion skinning off to kind of figure out how stuff moves between the frames a bit. Let's erase some of this. So I don't need anything like that. Like I can correct the model later. What I want is I want something kind of like posed out, taking the same motion and timing that the more worked out, better drawn stuff later is going to have. So let's add a couple of frames here so I can have room to draw here. So you can use the onion skinning for your starting point to kind of plot the general. You can use it to kind of orient you, but like the equivalent of doing this is like you turn off your light box. Like onion skinning is something that you get in traditional animation by working on a light table. So you can see like the different layered frames of the before and after where it's going, but then you will turn off your light table. You'll roll and flip the drawing and stuff. The equivalent of that visually is when you turn off your onion skinning. Just do this. Maybe want something a little bit closer to the next. Maybe get something that's a little bit more in the ballpark of when turning on the onion skin. Let's see, this frame. Gonna make something that favors the green ahead of me drawing here a bit. Get something that's like a slight movement of him starting the pose, going to the next, slightly turning his head. His ears going down a little bit. Neck's going back a little. His eyes looking over that way. Maybe favor the previous drawing a little bit. Get some of that head dimension in there. This looks with the onion skinning off. Do you have any good down tilt reference of his jaw? There's a good one right there, actually. I'll be able to definitely address those drawing problems when I go back in for those particular head angles. I'm not going to worry about like getting something too accurate here. I want something that feels like the general good rhythm of what I want. Although I may adjust this because like the volumes I feel are kind of wandering a bit. So let's maybe practice doing this a bit. I can maybe use this as my reference point somewhat, just adjust a bit. I just want something reasonably plausible for it. That maybe needs to be. Let's see here. Yeah, rotating the canvas, that's something I'm going to... I did that by accident just now, but that is something I'm going to have to be... As I get more used to using Clip Studio for animating, just drawing in general, but really for animation, rotating the canvas is going to be really an essential tool that I'm going to need to be using a lot. I should start to develop a sense of that. There might be some shortcuts I can set up to make doing that a little bit more intuitive for me, too. I think I might bind that to my the side button of my pencil. How's everyone doing, by the way? I wanted to get like 1 or 2 head things done today, so maybe make the second one the second one is like this change right here. But here, let's find this out. what we got so far. So put this about 12 frames. Second frame would be here. I actually want to have them like blink and look towards the camera for a bit. So we'll add a little of that for about a beat here. I'm going to save a backup real quick so I don't lose what I have so far. Good habit to get into. Let's say this is 1D. Then I can always roll back if I make a mistake. Let's see here. Alright, so I think we're pretty close to it. I definitely feel confident about moving forward with it. Like, my drawing is really scratchy and stuff, but the actual, like, basic idea of what I was trying to go for with this is going to work for a first pass. So let's see here. Just got to extend these frames. Maybe let's put it on 3s and see how this looks. By which I mean I'm going to give, like, a lot of these poses about 3 frames each, except for maybe like this one's gonna spend a little more time on it. 6 on that. It gets put on 3s. Let's see how it looks for my experiments. Now this one actually should be over here. Oh, yeah. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then that last one will be back here. Put it about, 59 frames. Be good for now. Yeah, this looks. I'm not gonna move. I'm actually gonna shorten it so we don't have to worry about that end part right there. I'm gonna be concerned about that first head turn. We'll get to that other one after this. Put this about here. So timing needs to be adjusted here when the head down. Let's shorten that to about 3, I would say. Yeah, that looks looking a little promising. Maybe slow this down some more. 2. Yeah, that looks. There you go. So you see the idea of where you go through this when you're animating. Like, it's okay for you to draw really crude as long as you have like the basic kind of scaffolding of how the face works. And then you like when you're tying down and cleaning up, you bring up your model sheets. You try to like really solve the drawing problems in it and stuff. But as long as like the general volumes of when you're doing this are working, and some of these are kind of wandering a little bit. As long as like it's not the character's not like, growing and changing in size, or there's stuff that's like super out of whack when you're doing like your early rough passes and stuff, then you have enough to work with to keep iterating on the idea and stuff. Like, for example, if I wanted to add like a hair bounce to Dandy here, I could do another pass where I kind of like handle that as a secondary action after I get this more established, after I get his initial head down tilt established thing. So I'm gonna add maybe like one more cushioning frame. So let's see. Let's start about here. Add one more frame here, where maybe it favors the next one. Maybe it favors this. Let's see here. Favors the green. We'll see. I do know that my instinct is telling me that it needs some cushioning there in that direction, but the timing might need to be adjusted. And a hair bounce, a small hair bounce when he bobs his head down might be a good idea to add as a secondary action on a future pass, but I'm not going to worry about that right now. So I'm favoring the green. It's ahead of the next one because I kind of want it to decelerate in that direction a little bit. And I'm doing this kind of draw for the in-between there. Let's see how this looks. I can make some adjustments to this based on trace back a little bit, based on like a rolling and flipping a little bit. Maybe have one more frame here, and then this frame favors about mid. This one's going to be kind of this drawing is going to be about placed like all the features that are moving right here are going to be kind of like evenly between the last frames, but they're still going to be kind of like following the rules of the dimensionality of the face, turning through space stuff. The front of the face is kind of moving up a little bit, like it's that 3D surface, how the face works. You want to keep stuff like that in mind when you're doing your between, so then like it doesn't come out looking like really flat. And you can kind of work that stuff out by turning up the light table and working your way through it. Like I just need like I actually don't really need to get too much into like the dimensionality of the face. I just need like something that's gonna kind of place like the general rough placement of like the features, for example. It's like this is all I need is like a rough loose thing that's going to give me a sense of like the smoothing of the motion, and then I can, when that's working, then something weird just happened. I think I know what it is. This pump is doing something odd. Run it off a bit. Maybe try pushing this over here. Maybe 2 frames. That looks better. Closer to what I wanted. I might add 1 additional frame here, I think. I'm going to stick a lot closer to the original key pose to the settle, I think. I'm going to go too crazy on detail. I just want like enough so that this reads as a strong key pose. So I can have it handy when I'm scrubbing clean the frames a little bit. That's showing me that this frame might not be the best frame to have. So I'm gonna actually pull that one out. Push this one in. And this gets pushed over here. Onto this. There's some weird warpy stuff happening with his eyes there, so. Go in and adjust. Pretty good to start with. For first pass on the head. What I do is add some more of this. Indication of that. There. By speeding this up a bit, see what happens. One, two. I think the 4 is fine there. It's put over here's the underdrawing reference. That's cool. It's spending a little bit too much time down there. That. Maybe speed these up on ones and see what happens. There we go. That read a little bit better for me. What do you guys think? Now I can go through, let's see, like, I can maybe track Dandy's nose a little bit on some of these, so that might help visualize what's going on here a bit. When I make fixes and adjustments, or like what's happening visually here, I can use that as a measuring point for the face, along with like that vector wedge. think I want to maybe cushion that with one more frame. This. Black. Favoring the green here. Favoring the next frame a little bit. So we're pretty close to finishing right now. I'd be interested in hearing people's feedback on what they think of like this new format for the classes, where we do some like some practice drills to start, and then we use some of the practice drills we've done or previous practice drills we've done, as I'm doing with like a space dandy that I did in a previous class, to use them for key poses for animation, for some animation practice. Because I've been wanting to integrate like animation practice into my regular classes. Like I want to do something like this on Wednesday too. So I'm curious what people's feedback is on what they think of the new format. Only a few people left. Oh well. Yeah, I do see an improvement after I gave you those notes on this, for sure. Definitely. So I'm gonna maybe like work on this a little bit more myself tomorrow. Maybe add the rest of the head and rest of the head action in. This is almost kind of like a warm-up first pass on trying out Spacedad as a character model and stuff. I think I want to try him more because he's a character that's worth kind of learning. Sure. Yeah, this is what I got. A little demo, a little 1 hour demo. 1 hour first pass on Space Dandy's head. He is kind of growing, changing in size in his jaw a bit. And there's like some stuff that I would definitely. Like what I was talking about with like the changing volumes is stuff that I would like. Look at that, like he's kind of changing in size there at the end. So that is something that I would want to fix. Sure. But that's also the reason why I wanted to start doing this stuff, so I get more animation practice while we're doing these streams. It's all about clocking in the mileage. Like I wanna get in the habit of practicing animating and making those mistakes, so I'm challenged to fix them. Let me see if I can fix this some more. Get like Danny's volumes working a little bit better and stuff like that. The overall action's working okay. Since you spent this day animating, so you didn't follow along on the animation, but yeah. This I'm gonna call it done and go back to animating since I was working on it. That's cool. Alexa, probably, can you share actually what you're animating in my personal Discord later, maybe? I'd love to see it. But anyway, let me show something else I did. This was a draw over demo. This was a demo I did trying to push and improve on like the boy with the hammer test that somebody else did. I designed my own actually, based on some of their keep posing. I forget what it was. No, yeah, it was like pushing and improving it. Draw over demo I did like last Saturday. We're gonna be doing the boy with the hammer thing again next Saturday. Some more, or the more correction demo stuff. Okay, there was this quickie demonstration I did of a bowing stick man last Saturday, I think. And let's see. Here we go. I took a key pose that I think Gus made, one of our regulars. I think it was by Gus, and I took an idea like from some of the live action footage we have, but then I riffed like kind of my own spin on it without like directly referencing it. Started playing with the same idea, that like sword attack kind of thing. Like when you start doing like live action studies, you can start kind of playing with the same action, even if it's like different from the live action reference. Like you start getting more intuitive with that stuff. Let me see. There's another one that I did before that one. It was like a lot more crude. This one's not as well worked out. This one I think still has potential. Like if I think what make this work is if I take out a few frames from it, and like this this other character that's going to be back over here holding a gun to Astropug. If I do like a really like over-exaggerated, spurty, gory fountain of gore and blood when they get sliced here, that might fit the kind of loose, flimsy approach here. But I'm gonna see about actually like improving on this throughout the week. Like, one of the key things about doing good animation is you want to keep improving on stuff that you've done. Like, you want to keep refining it, taking feedback, and so on. And so that's why one of the homework assignments for this week from my last Saturday's animation class is take the notes that we gave last Saturday on people's animations and try to fix them. I'm going to be doing some of that, maybe doing some of that tomorrow. Might be working a little bit more on the Spacedad head turns. But I definitely want to get to the stuff I had going on Saturday. Like I want to actually like develop this a little bit more. This is actually working really good. So like I can probably take it to a tie down phase with like putting Astropug in there and some key poses and stuff. This one I can do like the other stuff to refine it some more. The idea is that you want to start like rough, loose, and play with it, and keep refining and so on, and then I might like also do like pass on this where I get like the volumes of this boy on model and like over like the scribbly roughs that I've done to get something that looks about like closed out the same way, but that looks about like this for each frame, basically. Yeah, it's been a while, almost a year, 8 months or so of doing these classes, and it's been taking me this long to get really more confident and push myself to get over my conference barrier in order to animate live on screen and stuff and get more regular animation at. And that's what we're going to be pushing this week. Wednesday, more stuff. I'm going to be animating more tomorrow. Like, we'll be meeting up in my Discord and stuff. I don't think there's enough people in chat right now to really justify a raid. I usually want like around 20 or more people in a raid, so we'll probably end things here. And anyone who's down with it, we can meet up in my personal Discord right here to hang out and go over some stuff. If anyone has any additional questions or. And also, like, there's some other things I want to mention about what's coming up this week that I want to go over. So you can drop over in there right now. I'm gonna, as you can see, I'm gonna drop over into the drawing corner on my screen right now. Pop in. Sure. And I'll see you guys very shortly. Thank you all for coming, and thank you those of you who stuck around. Thanks for the thanks Kiradel for the little bits that they gave during the stream. Thanks, Moment 6, or however this is pronounced, Thank you for the 5-person raid during the stream. This was an experimental attempt at a new class format, and I hope that we get some momentum, like just like clocking in good animation practice in the coming weeks, coming months, all together, like combining the drawing practice we're doing with getting the stuff to turn around and move. Some more practice. Awesome. Yeah, keep it up, guys. Share the homework in chat. Oh, I forgot. The homework assignment is fill up another page. Fill up a page of this stuff and do keep filling up pages with this stuff that we've done, and do something like what I did. Like do some kind of head turn, and that'll be due next Monday. I'll do critiques of those next Monday. A little mini animation assignment for next Monday. Okay. And you can share those. The head turn animation part of the homework. Those get posted in the animation homework section. So you'll be putting your head turns in here. Yeah. Just fill up as many pages as you can of studies like these. Just keep doing more studies. Do freehand studies, photo studies, draw over studies, if head invention studies. Just do more studies. Fill up as many or as few pages of these as you like with like stuff you can put together. And then do at least one head turn test kind of like this. Preferably of an existing character you've done a study from. The Space Dandy sheet that I have. It's going to be tough, it's going to be kick your butt, but give it a shot. Try to keep it rough when you first do it, or you first pass. Like, don't worry about tying it down too much. But try to like, you notice like the problems I ran into with the volumes kind of wandering and stuff. Try to get the volumes consistent so like the character isn't like growing or warping too much. So yeah, I will see you guys next week. Thank you all. You can support the stream by just keeping showing up or subbing me on Twitch or supporting me on Patreon. I'm going to be updating my Patreon tomorrow. But yeah, thank you all. See you guys either in my Discord or next Wednesday for the anatomy class. Whenever class you show up for. Thanks.